Blood-red dust swirled across the desert as German tanks thundered forward. Amid the chaos, a single group of men refused to move. They were outnumbered, outgunned, yet unshaken. The enemy whispered a name that echoed through the dunes like a warning. The Māori are here. Even Rommel, the desert fox himself, had learned these were not ordinary men. These were warriors born from legend. The desert sun hung heavy over North Africa, burning everything it touched. The war had turned men into machines, yet among them stood a group who fought not for glory, but for mana, for the spirit of their ancestors, the 28th Māori Battalion. They moved like shadows across the sand, faces streaked with sweat and dust, eyes calm, yet burning with something ancient, something no army could train. The Germans called them the ghosts. Rommel called them the men he feared most. Private Tama Rehana pressed his hand into the dirt. It was warm, alive almost, as if the spirits of his homeland breathed through it. Behind him, his brothers stood silent, each man a pillar of strength. No words, just the quiet rhythm of shared purpose. They had already survived where others had fallen. They had seen the strongest crumble, the bravest break, but not them. Their courage wasn't loud. It was carved deep, like the tattoos etched into their skin. Each mark told a story of lineage, of promises made to those long gone. Back home, Tama's mother still placed food outside each night, whispering prayers into the wind. She believed her son could hear them from across the world, and in moments like this, staring down German tanks under a blood-orange sky, Tama felt he could. The first explosion tore through the silence. The ground shook, dust filling the air, but the Māori didn't flinch. Their leader, Captain Arapete Aotearoa, simply raised his hand, a calm, steady signal. What followed wasn't chaos. It was choreography, precision born from brotherhood. Machine guns roared, bayonets flashed, and cries of "Ake, Ake, Kiakaha," forever and ever be strong, thundered across the battlefield. The Germans had never seen anything like it. Even Rommel, watching from afar, whispered to his aide, "They fight like they carry death with honor." When the smoke cleared, the sand was silent again. The battalion stood, fewer now, but unbroken. Their eyes held stories too heavy for words. Later that night, under the same merciless sky, Thomas sat apart from the campfire. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of what they had done. He looked up. The stars above North Africa looked nothing like those above Aotearoa, but he imagined his ancestors watching. He thought of his fallen brothers. He thought of home. Silence, he once heard his grandfather say, is not weakness. It is the language of warriors. The next morning, when a senior British officer arrived, he looked upon the Māori Battalion with disbelief. He had heard the stories, how they had held off entire German divisions, how they had fought until no bullets remained. Yet he still didn't understand what drove them, until he saw how they buried their dead. No words, no tears, just songs, soft, ancient chants carried into the wind. The officer felt something he couldn't explain: respect. In that moment, he realized these weren't just soldiers, they were guardians. Weeks later, when news reached Rommel's camp that the 28th had joined a new front, his men murmured uneasily. Even the desert fox, known for his calm precision, sighed and said quietly, "If I must face them again, may God go with me." For the Māori Battalion, victory wasn't measured in medals. It was measured in the honor they carried and the brothers they never forgot. Tama returned home years later, older, quieter, but with that same fire behind his eyes. When children asked what war was like, he didn't speak of fear or blood. He only said, "We fought for something bigger than ourselves." And when they asked if Rommel truly feared them, Tama would smile faintly. "No," he would say softly, "he feared what we stood for." The 28th Māori Battalion didn't just fight a war. They carried their culture, their ancestors, and their honor into history. Their courage still whispers across the deserts of North Africa and the green hills of Aotearoa. If this story moved you, share it and comment where you're watching from. Let the world remember the silent heroes who fought with heart, honor, and unshakable spirit. Subscribe for more true stories that honor the bravery of those history almost forgot.